Gilbert, Peter, can you just confirm so there's no required prior approval from your doctor or anybody else or Dr. Frank to get in?
That is correct. You just show up and they will test you. It is on the CDC website. You can look up curative test and Google it, and it will tell you exactly what the test is all about. It'll walk you through the steps.
Yeah.
And that is for the testing on the 23rd. Other testing at other locations can require insurance and pre-screening.
Mr. Sandoval, this is Donna Glidden. I spoke with you probably 6 weeks ago.
Okay. Any more questions for Dr. Franklin or Gilbert? Being none, we will close agenda item 4. Drop down to agenda item 5, discussion action prohibiting or restricting outdoor burning in Llano County.
I'll drop off.
A poll to from all the fire chiefs and all 4 precincts. They say keep it on.
I'll move to table.
Second.
Motion by Commissioner Rowski, second by Commissioner Sandoval. Any further discussion?
It's hot.
Yeah.
All in favor? Say
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Ayes have it. Motion carries. Agenda item 6, public hearing discussions, approval of plats, replats, vacating of lot or lots. We have none. So we will drop down to discussion only. Agenda item 7, review known status of proposed Collier Inc. Kingsland Sand Plant on the Llano River. Commissioner Jones, you have the floor, sir.
Yeah, thank you, Judge. For everybody's information, this is the first time that the Commissioner's Court has had the opportunity to discuss this. It's not been available since, it's only been available since the last meeting. I want to give a little background on all of this, so bear with me if you will. And then I think there's going to be some comments from people who have signed up. First of all, I got a call from Kevin Collier. He's the president of Collier Inc. about 3 weeks ago to advise county, advise the county that he had just entered into an agreement with the Moss Miles Ranch. So it's between Collier and the Moss Miles Ranch to use their private ranch property. That's about 60 acres of piece of their property for sand that's dredged from the Llano River to be processed on the ranch and trucked out. So that he had only entered into that agreement days earlier prior to the call he made to me. So anyway, he asked to meet with me to give me more information. We did a couple of days later to outline the plan. And from that information that I received, I thought, this was critical and we needed to make sure the constituents and the newspapers were aware of what was being planned and give a heads up to all. So that was the first email that I had sent out, and it had only a brief map of what the ranch land boundaries were. It was the boundaries of the north part of the ranch land was Llano River. The south part was County Road 309. It was west of Comanche Rancheria community and about a mile-ish west of the 2900 bridge on the Llano River. So the information that we have received so far is verbal only. We have not received any requests for permits. I haven't seen any copies of requests for permits. I haven't seen any documentation. So there's no agreements that have been submitted. There's nothing that has been provided to us other than those verbal comments. And so I want to share what I heard and I believe understand has been said from Collier and from other information that we've received to give people a current update on where we stand. I'm going to do a little review of the email I sent out summarizing it. And as I indicated, that the plant or the land, the ranch land, as I said, about a mile west of the 2900 bridge. And the intent of Collier is to have 2 barges that would dredge When I say dredge, as I understand it, they have big pumps with pipes, and they would suck the sand out, and that sand would then be deposited onto the north shore of the ranch property, and it would initially go through I think it's a water separation wheel. So the sand goes in there, and the water and the sand kind of separate. The sand drops, and I'm going through comments, not through personal knowledge, but as I understand it, the sand drops onto conveyor belts, and the conveyor belts would then take that sand to the south end of the property. And the water that comes from that, the separation, would then go into the first of 3 separation ponds. So as I understand it, the sand or whatever the debris is in the remaining water would settle, and it would go from pond to pond to pond, and then that clarity, it would clear the water and then go back into the lake. The sand then would go down to the south end of the property on these conveyor belts. And I now believe, I was told by Collier, that the conveyor belts wouldn't be on that 60-acre stretch of land. It would be a fence over from that even further to the west. Anyway, we haven't got confirmation other than verbal. So that sand then goes down to the south end of the property, and there would be a sand processing plant established. I'm told state of the art, and separates into potentially 9 different qualities of sand. And it depends on what they're using it for, whether it's used for golf course, whether it's used for cement or whatever. So the sand then is trucked out, and it will go trucked out from that private property onto County Road 309. And as I understand it, the intent would only to go south down to Highway 71, and then from there to the customer. So this, the dredging, as I understand it, would be about 2,500 feet either side of the ranch location. And the barges would be, I guess, set up in such a way that boat traffic is allowed, et cetera, et cetera. And I'll get into that in a moment with a comment from LCRA. The trucking, now the amount of sand potentially that Collier has stated that probably would be getting out of the river could be as high as 4,000 tons per day. They would have an operating days of 21 days on average per month. And so 5 days a week. And the operation would be from 7 o'clock in the morning until 5 o'clock at night, and then shut down on holidays and weekends and so on. 4,000 tons a day, when you start doing the math at 21 days, that's 80,000 tons a month. That's 1 million tons a year. That's a considerable amount of material that's taken out of that Llano River location that otherwise, frankly, would go into Lake LBJ. So, with the flood that we had, a lot of people had a lot of concern about the sand buildup, and continue to do so. So anyway, that's a volume of material that is considerable. Now, the other issue on this, of course, this needs to be removed and by truck. So the trucks would, 4,000 a day probably is at least 120 trucks. That's a lot of trucks and a lot of traffic, and it would travel on County Road 309. County Road 309 is not built to handle that type of traffic, so it would need to be reinforced. And so that's an issue the county has to deal with. Collier has offered financial support to the county, as the actual amount is 10 cents per ton that they would pay to the county when in operation to help with the maintenance of that road. So if you do the math, it calculates to maybe at the high end $100,000 a year in revenue to the county to help maintain that road. It may not be that high early on, who knows? We've looked at what it would take to reinforce the road in regards to base and chip seal and so on. And so that's under review at this point in time. So we don't have final data on how much it would cost and so on. But we're estimating probably 300,000 range it would cost to reinforce that road. It's about 3.8 miles from that entry point down to Highway 71. So there's a number of issues that we still do not yet have answers to. We're still investigating. One of the issues is to do with some of the permits that would be required for this. And at this point in time, there has been no submission of any application for any permits anywhere. That's what I understand. As far as the county is concerned, the agreement, the private agreement between the Miles Moss Ranch and Collier is a private agreement for their land use. The county has no authority in regards to controlling land use. So that's a private arrangement between Collier and the Miles Moss Ranch. The county would need to issue a floodplain permit once that's been submitted, reviewed, and if approved. So that's a county commissioner court issue when done. The issue in regards to dredging or pumping the sand out of that comes under the jurisdiction of LCRA. I did contact LCRA. I think they may be even on the line. I don't know if Susan Patton's here, but I asked them what would it take from LCRA to be able to issue permits for this. And I'm going to, if you don't mind, read a letter. This is from Bill Lauterbach. He's the Executive Vice President of Public Affairs. And he says, I'll try and pick out the summary points. He says, first, LCRA that had a preliminary conversation with discuss the process that he would need to follow, but not yet received any application. No application has been filed, no permits have been granted, and no review is underway with LCRA. It says the size and scope of the project of the one proposed by Mr. Collier would require 3 separate and distinct permits from LCRA, 2 of them, one for dredging and one for development, and that's under the Highland Lakes Watershed Ordinance. And it also require a buoy permit, and they're designed to protect water quality and safety for boaters. The Highland Lakes Watershed Ordinance requires a permit for dredge and fill activities that dredge more than 500 cubic yards or disturb more than 500 linear feet of shoreline. This permit would apply to the actual removal of sedimentation from the lake. That permit also requires a separate development permit for the associated sand processing. Securing this permit would require the applicant to install erosion control and other protective measures to minimize the effect the facility would have on water quality. The third permit is for buoy placement to protect boater safety. The dredging operation will be required to strategically place buoys around the barge facility to alert boaters and create a safe buffer zone for the public. So all 3 LCRA permit applications are very specific with respect to the obligations of the applying party, and all conditions must be met in order to obtain the permit. Additional permits must be obtained from other agencies, and the LCRA's sole focus concerns the applicant is meeting the terms as specified by the Highland Lakes Watershed Ordinance and LCRA's land and water use regulations. And more information on this can be found at lcra.com. They close by saying, when an application is filed, the public will be invited to participate during the public input process as set out by Highland Lakes Watershed Ordinance. So there's some permit issues with LCRA that would need to be addressed, none of which have been requested at this point in time. The other issue is I did advise TxDOT about the issue and when their trucks are coming to either Highway 71 or possibly to 2900. Well, they said, we will look at this. We'll get back to you with some kind of a response. So I'm going to read to you a brief paragraph from a response from TxDOT. It says the Burner Area Office has reviewed the potential impacts of the sand plan in regards to TxDOT's system. Our initial question is, how does, and it says the county/developer plan to mitigate impacts to our system for large increase in trucks? These impacts will need to be looked at from both ends of County Road 309 at 71 and 2900. And if the county or developer feel nothing is needed for these impacts, then TxDOT would like to see a traffic study to determine if the level of service is impacted on the TxDOT system. The developer can hire an engineer of choice as long as they are registered professional engineers in the state of Texas. If an operational improvements are found to be warranted as a result of the development through this study, then they would need to be designed standards and funded through either the county and or the developer. So I talked to them and said it would be the developer's responsibility. I mean, they would have to deal with that. It's their project. Likely there would be other permits required. I fully expect that TCEQ, Texas Commission on Environmental Quality, would have to provide permits for water quality, since water would be going back into the lake, as well as air permits. Unsure yet where Texas Parks and Wildlife come in regards to any potential ones there that would come into play. So there's a lot of issues that the Collier would need to deal with to get approval on all of this. Somewhat limited with the county, but our big issue is going to be certainly dealing with the road issue. And I talked to our legal counsel to see, what can the county do from a restriction point of view, et cetera. We don't have a response on that yet. So that is an update. The last thing I wanted to give you an update on is that the sand plant that will be at the south end of the property, I'm told, there is a similar plant in Georgetown that Collier established this year. And in talking with Collier, I suggested it would be useful for people, if they wanted to go and see what that looks like. And I've arranged for a tour at the Georgetown plant. It's actually in Gerald on July 16th, this coming Thursday at 10 o'clock. And for those who have responded, have some interest in it, I'm looking at groups of 10 maximum. They need to be hard hats and they need to be wearing masks, and I can schedule that. So I've got probably about 8 people who have expressed an interest right now. And if there are others who are listening to this call who would like to participate in that tour, and Kevin Collier would be there as well. So not only a tour of the plant itself, but also to answer any direct questions you may have. Let me know. We'll plan back-to-back multiple tours that same day if there's enough people that warrants that. So anyone listening who either pass it on to others, or if you wish to contact me directly, and I'll make arrangements for you to participate in that tour. So that's about the best update I've got at this point in time. I've had a number of emails, and also there's comments coming up, I think, but I wanted to let people know that this is a fairly new information project that we have just learned about. So there's been no action by the Commissioner's Court. There's been no agreement signed. The only one I'm aware of is the one between the ranch owner and Collier, and that's a private agreement that has not been shared with anybody. And so there's been no action by the county on this. So I just want to make sure you're aware of it. And all we're trying to do is understand the scope of this and all the issues that come with it. So with that, Judge, I'll pass back to you. I got a note on here from somebody, it sounds like Commissioner Jones has an agreement to. I have no agreement with anybody. I'm only gathering information from all sources to try and understand the scope of this project. There is no agreement with anybody, including me.
And just so everyone understands, this information came to light between the last commissioner's court and this commissioner's court. We brought it to the court for public information as soon as we could. Mr. Collier, are you on? I don't see or hear Mr. Collier.
He's on, Judge. Give him a second.
You may want to ask him if what I've said is any inaccuracies in that.
That's what I want to verify.
It's working now, isn't it?
We can see you.
Everything Mr. Jones says is correct.
Okay. Okay, with that being said, we will go to public comment. Due to the emergency measures that are currently in place, all public comments shall be limited to 1 minute and need to be specific to the agenda item. Please remember that there are rules of decorum and the rules should be enforced by the speaker being first warned, and upon a second infraction, the speaker's cell phone or camera will be placed on mute. So we will open it up with Scott Pierce. Mr. Pierce, are you on? Hello, Mr. Pierce.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes, sir. We can hear you. Go ahead, sir. You have 1 minute.
Thank you. Yes, I was interested in the information surrounding the permits and everything. I'm a homeowner that's directly across from where the plan is here. So obviously noise, construction, traffic, all those items are much concern to me right now. So for me, I was just looking for information, and this meeting's been very helpful for providing information regarding that. But obviously I'm concerned. So thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Pierce. Next up is Sarita Stott Smith.
He's muted.
Here.
Okay. Yes, I live directly on Highway 71, about 1.5 miles from 309. Most of my questions are directed to Mr. Jones. Mr. Jones, do you think 120 trucks a day will hinder ranchers feeding their cattle on this road? If the proposed route is full of trucks, full trucks exiting on 71, which route will the empty trucks be taking? Because 2 trucks will not be able to go down County Road 309 side by side. And like I said, I do live on 71 and it is a dangerous road. I have difficulty turning in and out of my property. How are all the safety issues going to be addressed? And have you ever personally driven down Fairland Road and seen any of Mr. Collier's projects? And then my last question is, are you for or against the sand plant?
Let me try and deal with a few of these. I cannot answer.
You can't
Rand?
right now. Peter.
Can't answer
Peter, you
anything.
can't answer.
Oh, okay. All right. Okay.
And like I said, I'm requesting a resolution in opposition of the sand plant. And that's all I have to contribute today. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you for commenting. Lisa?
Actually, Judge, I do believe that we can respond because there is an agenda item on here.
This is public comment.
No, he
If
says-
there was no agenda item, we couldn't respond, but there is a agenda item that specifically is about this. We can
Okay.
respond. We can talk about it if he would like to.
Well, there's counsel right there.
Commissioner Moss, I think y'all
Yes, sir.
can have a discussion amongst amongst the court once public comments over. But going back and forth during the public comment is is probably not appropriate at this point. So you could have a discussion when you
After-
come back
yeah,
into the
that's-
item.
Well, that's fine, but in the past, we have talked about things and talked with the public if there is a specific agenda item, which there is.
Well, we'll come back to it. I want to make sure we get through all these though. Okay, next is Lisa, and I don't want to mispronounce your name, Revils. Hey, ma'am, you're muted.
Okay, I
There you
got
go.
it now.
Okay. Go ahead, ma'am.
Okay. Okay, my husband and I bought a home a year ago in Comanche Rancheros. We will be living there full-time upon retirement in the very near future. The one reason we picked this location was the isolation, the privacy of the neighborhood, and the beauty of the lake. We even went out and bought 2 boats to enjoy what I call our little piece of heaven. Well, now we are being told that approximately 120 18-wheelers will be traveling 309 to 71 every day. That will not only affect our neighborhood, but our wildlife, which was another draw for us to buy this property. Also, all the extra barges on the lake will make it impossible to enjoy fishing, skiing, and swimming. My husband is also a heart patient, and this is an extra stress that we didn't count on. And we are one of the youngest in our neighborhood. Our neighbors are mostly retired couples and have lots more serious issues that will cause sickness from the dust that these trucks will cause. Please, please reconsider. That's all I have.
Thank you, ma'am. Next up is Virgil Yanta. Yanta, Y-A-N-T-A.
Good morning.
Good morning.
He's muted.
Thank you for the opportunity to participate in my very first hearing. May it please the court. I am here individually and also as president of the Kingsland Estates HOA. For those of you who don't know, there's some 550 plus homes here. I have some questions. I wanted to remind the court of some issues that perhaps, inevitably, who will replace the tax dollars that are going to be lost from the diminution in value of the hundreds of homes when there is a huge plant next door to these beautiful properties? Number two, what liabilities might the county incur when they basically become a partner with a private enterprise? That takes them out of the Tort Claims Act protections and the $100,000 limits. The potential for unlimited federal court 1983 jurisdiction claims and nuisance lawsuits is incredible. So I urge the court to tread lightly and preserve the sanctity of our, as I agree, little piece of heaven. And thank you very much.
Thank you, sir. Next up is Sharon Moore.
Thank you. I live in Comanche Rancherias, and I am more concerned about the traffic on County Road 309 because, as I see it, removal of sand is really not in the duties of a county commissioner. It's more on the safety and maintenance of our county road. Mr. Jones, you said you're going to be reinforcing the road, but how is that going to support the tons and tons of weight that's going to be going down that road? And what will the cost be to the taxpayer for actually having to upgrade this road and maintain it? And can we really trust that Mr. Collier will pay his fair share of all these added costs to the county and taxpayers? But most importantly, Mr. Jones, I feel like the price of the loss of life that will surely result from accidents involving these trucks is, we can't put a price on that. Our Llano High School students, our junior high school students travel these roads by school bus and their own private cars twice per day. Is putting their lives at a greater risk, a chance you're willing to take, Mr. Jones? I asked the court to issue a resolution in opposition of the proposed sand plant as it did for Sandy Creek, sending a clear message that Llano County is committed to the safety and well-being of its residents, and we will not stand for industrialization of our beautiful Texas Hill Country. I appreciate your time and your thoughtful consideration of this matter. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Moore, for your comments. Next is Barbara Schmidt. Ms. Schmidt, are you on?
Yes, I am.
There you are.
I have a question. What gives the commissioners the authority to tangle up hundreds of thousands of Llano County tax dollars into a joint enterprise with a for-profit private company? It seems to me you are edging very close to using taxpayer money to do favors for a private company if you redo County Road 309. Has the Texas Ethics Commission approved this wheeling dealing? 309 is not a haul road. It's a passenger road for citizens' access. Have you actually checked your legal ownership of 309 and the right to modify it? Commissioner Jones emailed me on July 6th. I have the final say on what projects are acted on. But where are your written safety studies and assessments? The fact seems to be the county doesn't require them. So I will go on record again stating here, July 13th, 2020, citizens are concerned for safety on 309 if it is opened up to two directional 18-wheeler traffic at the rate of one truck every 4 minutes. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Schmidt. Next, we have Marcia Scott. Ms. Scott, are you on? Hello, Ms. Scott.
I think she's muted.
Hello? Are we? Hello?
Hello.
Hello?
We're looking for Marcia Scott for comment.
Hello? Just one moment. Hello?
Ma'am, are you Marcia
We can hear
Scott?
you.
Yes, I am.
Okay, you have 1 minute, ma'am.
Thank you. Ladies and gentlemen of the Commissioners Court and Honorable Judge Cunningham, my name is Marcia Scott, excuse me, and I come before you in opposition to the Collier Industrial Sand Mining Operation. I come from generations of families who have farmed and ranched on 309. This is wrong, and you know it is. It would be extremely hazardous to the lives of my family who use 309 each day. Imagine 120 18-wheelers weighing 33 tons. Do y'all know how much that is? Every 4 minutes, there will be a loss of life. And for whom? Whom will this benefit? The community of Kingsland and our beautiful, beautiful Lake LBJ, the farmers and ranchers of 309? No. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Scott. Next is Mildred Scott.
Yes, sir, I'm here.
Hey, Ms. Scott. Go ahead, ma'am.
My name is Mildred Scott. I own a mile on 309. I run cattle on my place. I feed and check water on 309 every day. I cannot imagine 120 18-wheelers. When they are coming and going, it is 240 trips a day on 309. This sand mine will definitely interfere with my daily ranching activities. I totally oppose the sand plant and of your county, the use of County Road 309. Thank you very much for letting me speak.
Thank you, Ms. Scott. Okay, next we have Nick and Tracy, and I'm sorry, I can't make out the last name. Is there a Nick on here? Jennifer, can you make out that last name, or can any of the commissioners?
Minchurch.
Tracy Mincher?
Minchurch.
Minchurch, yes, ma'am. Is Tracy Minchurch on here? We'll set her to the side. Maybe she's having technical difficulties. We'll go to George Scott. George,
Yeah.
are you on?
Yes, I am. Thank you. I
Hello, sir.
appreciate all the commissioners and the judge giving me some time to speak. I oppose the plant. I believe what's going to happen once the plant gets in operation, that it is going to be a gigantic plant, much like back behind the dam in Llano, except much bigger. And once it starts operating, it's never going to stop. It's going to continue and continue. And I know they're going to try not to spoil the lake, but they are going to spoil the lake. I appreciate your time, and let's please take a very close look at this before we make any decisions. Thank you.
Thank you, George. Robert Stewart, are you on? Robert Stewart. Okay, we will set Robert Stewart to the side, see if he comes back up. Kathy Bowers. Is Kathy Bowers on the line? Thomas and Anne Marie Morrison, are you on the line? Okay. Nancy Tab.
Okay, yes, I'm here.
Oh, hey, Miss Tab, go ahead, ma'am.
Okay, I'm Nancy Tabb. I live in Lakewood Forest 1 on the water, and I have many different concerns, a lot of the same ones everyone has about the air quality, the water quality, the noise, the truck traffic. I'd also like to bring up the impact that it might have on Kingsland Water Supply, their operations, if the water quality is compromised. Also, just wondering what part of the plant will be visible from the lake, because I feel it would be an unsightly view in front of my view of Pack Saddle Mountain right now. The section of the lake that they're going to be in is prime recreational area, and I understand there might be more barges going up and down the lake in front of my neighborhood, bringing sand to that area. So I feel like that might cut off our whole area for recreation. And then, of course, County Road 309 is currently used by walkers, runners, and bikers, as well as some vehicle traffic. This activity would not be possible if it's changed, if all these trucks go through. And I'm concerned there will also be truck traffic coming from 2900 as well, which is right by my neighborhood. The 120 trucks a day becomes 240 trips per day. So there will be trucks going down the 309 every 2.5 minutes. Plus all the workers and truckers coming in to work in the morning and leaving in the evening. So it's even more traffic. So perhaps part of the road improvements that you should consider should be adding a hike and bike trail to replace the 309 that we have now for hiking and biking. And also, how long will this operation last? A 5-year rollover contract sounds like a permanent operation to me.
Ms. Tab, your time is up, ma'am.
Okay, and I just want to see if you've considered any other options for removing sand from the lake.
Okay, thank you, Ms. Tab. Monica Scott. Is Monica Scott on the line?
think she was on here a while ago.
She is. There she is.
Unmute.
There you are. Okay. Go ahead, ma'am.
Good morning. Is it unmuted?
You're unmuted. We can hear you.
Oh, great. Good morning. My name is Monica Scott. I'm a property owner on County Road 309. And I'm opposed to the Collier Sand Plant in the Llano River and opposed to any development on County Road 309. And I request a resolution by the court as such. The plant and the development of County Road 309 conflict with the primary goal and planning of the Llano County Transportation and Economic Development Plan, which was signed by the commissioners and the judge at that time. The plan makes no mention of development of 309, and this up development of this county road appears to be personal matter for Commissioner Jones and not related to the community. Commissioner Jones, in your effort of promoting this project, gives the appearance of a conflict of interest and misconduct. I also request the court to challenge Commissioner Jones as unqualified to perform his duties because of his potential conflict of interest or lack of impartiality in the matters related to Collier Materials, Collier Inc., or any other Collier corporation. Thank you for your consideration in both of these requests, and I appreciate your time to address the court.
Thank you, ma'am. Next up is Binky Morgan. Binky, you on here? I thought I saw you a while ago.
Yes. Can you hear me? There she is.
Oh, there you are.
Can you hear me?
Yes, ma'am. Go ahead.
Okay. Thank you, Judge and Commissioners. And I just want to say that at the end of the day, I think that we all want the same thing. And that is keeping our lakes from filling up with sand while at the same time maintaining the natural beauty of our rivers, lakes, and indeed our entire county. I believe a solution can be found that will accomplish both of these objectives. All of us, citizens and elected officials, have a responsibility to be good stewards of and maintain the integrity of the abundant natural beauty that is Llano County. Let's not rush into the first apparent solution that presents itself, lest we and future generations regret it. Are we, the people of Llano County, and you, our elected officials, ready to open the door to private, for-profit industrialization of Llano County waters and landscapes? It is my prayer that the answer is no. Thank you.
Thank you, Binky. Next up is Sophia Weiss. Or Weiss, I'm not sure.
Judge, she put a message here on the chat that said she had to go to work.
Okay.
Was not available.
Just for the record, in general, are you against such agenda item? She says, I am against the Collier Inc. Kingsland Sand Plant. So her comment has been noted. Next up is Stephen R. Dial. Mr. Dial, are you on the line, sir? I don't see Mr. Dial on here. We'll set him off to the side for a minute. He has submitted an email. We'll go back through the ones that weren't here earlier. If they're not here, I'll go straight to their. Mr. Dial says that he is against the sand plant. Thomas and Anne Marie Morrison is against the sand plant. Kathy Bowers is very much against the Collier sand plant on the Llano River. Robert Stewart is against the sand plant. And Nick and Tracy, I think it's I think it might be Murdoch, Murdoch. At any rate, they're against the 309 and expense for taxpayers for the sand plant. So now we've had these comments. We can go back into discussion. Commissioner Jones, you've heard of all the discussion. Do you have anything you want to add?
Well, I just want to say this, that I think people may be under the assumption that the Commissioners Court has made some kind of a decision or agreement or can make agreement or has the authority. I do. None of that really is correct. The county is pretty limited, frankly, in our level of authority here. And maybe our legal counsel can correct me if I say something wrong. But as I said, we do not have land use authority. So the private arrangement that has been made by Collier and the ranch owner, we do not have any authority to deal with, to reverse that or address it. That is a state of Texas property rights issue. The limitations of our authority, certainly as it relates to the Llano River, is LCRA, possibly TxDOT, or probably TCEQ rather. So that authority is limited. We don't have any authority on that. As far as the highways are concerned, that's TxDOT. We don't have any authority on that. Our main authority here would be the floodplain permit, which is some part of that. La Ranch is in the floodplain, so we would have to make sure we review that, as well as County Road 309. And when I had made a statement that, decisions in regards to county roads would, in my precinct, would rest with me is true, because each commissioner has authority within their own precincts to determine the road maintenance budget. Well, they're given a budget, and then we work with the road commissioner and the road and bridge crews to be able to budget effectively. So the county road is an issue. It's a big issue. It's one we are still working to try and understand the impact, understand such things as is their weight level controls that we have. We don't have answers to that yet. So there's a number of things that come into play here that we need to understand. But bear in mind, the county does not have full authority on this project. We only have partial authority on some parts of it, and other agencies will have to their authority and their review of the permits as they're submitted. So, and some of these issues that were brought up, we don't have answers to at this point in time. 3 days, first meeting with Commissioners Court, 3 weeks since we even heard about it. So there's a lot more that we need to understand going forward.
Any other commissioners have any comments?
No, Judge, there is on the chats on this thing, there is Taylor Delp says that he had, it looks like he had turned in a form, but we didn't get it, I don't guess.
Taylor, did you?
Yes, I thought I submitted a form. I might have sent it to the wrong place. All I'd like to add is that the change.org petition that I've started has close to 950 signatures. I live in Comanche Rancherias, bordering the property where they proposed the sand plant. I agree with some of the previous comments that there is another solution to getting the sand out. And I also don't believe their current plan will actually do anything to help the sand situation on the rest of the lake. And I hope that we consider this a little further. And sorry, I didn't get my form to the right place. Thank you for letting me speak though, Jerry Dawn.
Commissioner Brodsky, anything?
No, I think this is very early in this. There had been some assumptions that we had known about this, and I want to make it very clear we did not. I think we all need to be able to have a conversation that's clear and precise about this, though.
Mr. Sandoval.
I have a comment.
Yes, sir.
Did you have anything to add?
Are you asking me, Judge?
Yes, sir.
Yes, I do.
the most salient point that I see, despite all the other complaints, is the use and the investment, if it were to come to fruition, of Llano County putting up front money, maybe as much as $300,000 worth of tax money, to improve a road to help someone in a private business. I see it serving no public purpose for the whole county. The other thing is, whenever those roads flood and the high water marks or the high water crossings from that plant out to 71, it's going to be natural that those trucks are going to want to turn and go the paved portion over to 2900. Now, TxDOT, in my opinion, is not going to allow them to pull those 18-wheelers on that onto our Ranch Road 2900 at that particular place without some kind of access lanes for them to get out and get on, and also there's a small one to come in. The same thing on Highway 71. And I can tell you this, and most of you know this, TxDOT's not going to take some payment plan of 10 cents per ton to do all that work. It's money up front. Now, if the county is helpless to stop anything because of the way it will proceed with LCRA, et cetera, we can not invest tax dollars. If Collier Materials wants to have that road improved, let him go to the bank and borrow the $300,000 and donate it to the county or whatever it takes. The next question is, to have that road ready by March 21st, the intended startup of that plant, does our county road crew have the expertise to repair all those low water crossings, widen all the cattle guards, and then there's the open range issue of all those ranchers. And someone made the point about maybe in the original deeds of Pack Saddle, they didn't say this, but they were referring to maybe in the original deeds, those ranchers come out into that road. And if there's one person who had in those days the wherewithal to put something in there that could stop this, it could exist there. And I would assume the attorneys involved in this thing are going to look that up. So for the Llano County to get involved in this, I think is a big, big mistake. That's it.
Commissioner Moss, anything?
No, sir, I'm good. Thank you.
Mr. Jones, did you want to follow up with anything?
No, I mean, I think we have to look at what, again, what can the county do from a point of view of authority levels and address those in. And certainly the county road is a big issue. Tax dollars, safety, the width of it, the strength of it, any and all of that. Now, from a point of view of can we restrict anybody from driving that road, any trucks? We have to look at that and see. I mean, there's probably a weight issue that can be put in place, but those are issues that we haven't, investigated well enough yet. So yeah, I agree. There's a lot of understanding to go on. Now, we alone cannot just turn around and say, you can't do this, Collier, or you can't do this, Miles Ranch. There's a lot of other agencies that come into play as well. And hopefully there'll be some public hearings from some of these agencies to be able to deal with it, as we did with the Sandy Creek sand plant. There were meetings on that through these agencies as well. We participated in and made objections to. So more work to be done. But I want to thank everybody for their comments, and certainly those concerns are valid.
Thank you, Commissioner Jones. So with that, we will close agenda item 7, go to agenda item 8. Peter, you want to read that and walk through it?
Yeah, this is, let me just read it and then we'll talk. For Llano County, this is a decision, discussion and action for Llano County to participate in a local agreement with the cities of Temple, Belton, Arcus Heights, and Killeen, and the counties of Bell, Correll, Hamilton, Lampasas, Llano, Mason, Milan, Miles, and San Saba to conduct a transit study and develop regional transportation alternatives. And frankly, the summary of this is regarding the HOP transportation services that is in that is used by Llano County. Okay, having said that, I want to give a little background on this whole thing. The HOP service, whether you used it or not, is a pretty valuable service to Llano County. Llano County is part of I'm going to go through the background, Highland Lakes Transit District. The Highland Lakes Transit District has a board of 15 board members, of which I'm a board member, of which I am also the vice chairman. And on that board is represented all of these cities and counties and has been operating quite effectively. They have two operations that are kind of significantly. One is an urban operation, which is basically a bus stop, stand at the bus stop, get a bus in those cities that I mentioned, and also has a rural operation where, as you would do in Llano, you'd phone in, book a trip, they would come to pick you up, drop you off, and so on. So it's a kind of a call for service type system, as you know, in Llano County, as well as 8 other counties. So there's a separation here of an urban operation and a rural operation. What has happened is the budget for this is about $10 million a year through this transit district, for this regional transit district. The rural counties do not pay for the service. That's paid for from grants, and also the matching provision for those grants is through Medicare. So we've been fortunate enough to have this service in Llano County without paying anything for the service other than through the grants. The cities, however, grants, they subsidize through the cities a certain amount. And so the city councils of some of these cities have basically said, we need to probably look at this transit service and see, in fact, it is doing all the things we want it to do. So the city of Temple, I think, was the trigger on this, and they basically had said, we would like to get a consultant to kind of review the whole transit system for the urban centers initially. They had an afterthought and said, well, maybe the rural areas might want to be involved in this study as well. So they've gone through the process of getting bids. They've identified a consultant. The consultant is one that they believe they will move forward on. The project, the survey would take about 4 months to complete. The cost of the project, if you saw the note, is $32,500. The 5 cities in one county, Bell County, who has an urban transit system, to split the cost of the $20,000. The $12,500 is the cost of the rural study, and there are 8 counties that would participate if they choose to participate in that rural study. The urban cities, those 6, have all agreed to participate, so they will do the study for the urban study. Llano County, in looking at as a sheet I sent out, but Llano County is a high user of this service. In looking at the chart that I gave you, if you combine Cameron and Rockdale, which is basically Milam County, they about 20,000 rides per year. Llano County is about 15,000, over 15,000 rides per year, and all the rest of them are less than that. So we're a high user, and the use of this, as you see on the lower part of that, is a lot of it is for education. In other words, kids after school is used extensively, medical, transportation. All of these buses, by the way, I think you may know, are ADA compliant, I think except one in Llano County, that pick up and help people get to doctor's appointments and so on. Nutrition is to do with seniors' meals and getting them to centers. personal and shopping and work are also, those are set up to provide this service to our constituents. So I guess the decision, what they've asked of the other 8 counties is this week, most of them are having commissioner court meetings and have not been actively involved in this discussion about this study. So I'm bringing that to your attention now. And they being the urban group headed by City of Temple, are asking if we would care to participate in this study. The cost of $12,500 will be split between the participants. So if only half participate, then there would be a higher amount of cost per person per county than if all participated. So I'm bringing this to the attention of the Commissioner's Court, asking for a decision. There is I think the end of the month is the maximum deadline, but I need to give them a kind of a heads up as to whether in fact we're interested. My recommendation is we do participate. And the reason why is because I think we need to have a say in this study and not let it go without us participating in it. The cost at this point is, of course, not known because we don't know how many of the 8 will participate in the share of the $12,500. I would recommend, frankly, that we participate as long as a majority participate, including Llano County. In other words, 5 of the 8, if they participate as a minimum, that would be $2,500 to the county to participate in this study. I fully expect there will be, most counties will participate based on the feedback at the board meetings, but we don't know that until they have their commissioners' court meetings and so on. So I'm kind of suggesting that as a potential. Is there any questions on that? Let me know.
So are you asking us to commit to this today?
Today or by the end of the month at the very, very latest. I mean, if it's not committed to by the end of the month, we're out. And if nobody commits to it, then there's no rural study at all. I mean, if no county commits to it, the rural study will not take place. The problem in here is that you've got, if I can describe this a little further, in Belton is the bus depot. Belton is where there's a call center, there's administration, there's also administration in San Saba. And those functions provide the services for both the rural and the urban. The urban, it's going to be very difficult for urban to break away.
Right.
Urban only and a rural only, and you do your own thing and decide, which means you're duplicating call centers, you're duplicating administration and so on. And it would probably take 2 years to implement whatever is decided. And one city may be different than another. Who knows what will come out of this thing. But the issue ultimately from a rural point of view is there's no center for rural operations. In Llano, the buses are in Llano, different centers, locations, and the buses are maintained in Llano at local businesses. They don't go to the central bus depot. So if it was split off, there will be, I would project there would be additional costs to the rural operation.
Could be, yeah.
Because of separating and duplicating call centers and administration and so on. So my concern with this is if it turns out that the urbans end up separating from the rurals, the cost of the rural operation will go up and potentially the county could end up, if making a decision, is pay that increased cost or reduce the service or not have the service. You know, I mean, I'd sooner have us have a say at the table in regards to this study than not, frankly. So
no, and I agree with that. My question though is, why are we in this district for this type of service? Why are we not able to have an agreement with CARTS?
Well, it's not been pursued. I mean, we could. I mean, but that's. I think that the district, this whole transit district thing is fairly complicated.
Right, I agree with that.
And I think they set the district, they being through government structure or whatever, set the district up to include these counties and these cities. COTS has got a similar structure in their district. Now, could we move over to COTS? I have no idea. I don't know. I mean, is that part of the study? Could be. You know, I don't have.
Yeah, I'd like to know that because I know that Burnett County is part of the CARTS program through
Right.
CARTPO. The judge and I sat on that committee, and I've never really understood clearly why we are not in that district when it's part of the Capcog region. Did you ever understand that, Judge?
No, and that's what I was about to ask is I just noticed when going through this that Burnett County is not part of this program.
No, they're part of CARTS.
This is the HOP. It's called the Hill Country Transit District, and it includes these cities and these counties. And
Right.
it's as we're not part of, what's the other one, the Capcog? We're not part of their municipal cog or something. I forget what it is, because they're outside of that district. The boundaries stop at Llano.
And that's the problem with Llano County. It's being outside of Blue Bonnet. It's a
We're on
problem.
the edge. We're on the
Right.
edge of that. So.
No, I know.
But I don't have answers to those questions. Is that something that will come out of this study? Maybe.
Maybe.
I mean, if the rural study says, hey, the rurals can go part of another district, maybe, you know, it's hard to know. When you start looking at this thing, the financials on this are so complicated. And fiscal years, they have multiple grants, matching grants, state grants, federal grants, TxDOT grants. You know, it's very complicated. That's why they brought in a consultant to try and look and see, is it operating the way it should, or should changes be suggested and recommended? And that's what they're looking at. So your point is one of the things that they could look at if they do a study on it.
Well, and I know they do it appears they do an exceptional job. They're running constantly. I know on the end anyway.
Yeah, we go through reports every board meeting on this. The complaint level of this is incredibly low, like 0.00 something. And the service level and all the achievements, they have certain standards that they have to meet, and they meet them constantly every time I have a board meeting. So I'm very impressed by the operation as it stands right now. And whether in fact the consultant can come up with anything better would be, I think, questionable. But you know, they want to make sure they're checking it to see if it is true.
No, that's good. No, that's good.
So from a rural point of view, you know, we could be out of this study and just let the urbans do it, but that doesn't really do a good job in regards to the overall picture well enough. So anyway, that's my recommendation. I am looking to give them a response, hopefully this week, to say we agree in principle, or we agree if we got enough, if there's a majority participating, and then we can finalize when we know later in the month.
So Peter, can I ask a question? When they do the regional transportation study, will they list what services are available in each county? So in other words, if they're doing this study and they look at Llano County, will they be able to provide us information that Llano County is with HOP, but they also have these services in adjoining counties that could be used? Or
I mean, the part of the study, and there's another piece to this, is that they would do peer studies, case studies, and comparison as to what other counties are doing, as well as, you know, how it compares to what we're doing. And is that you know, appropriate? Should it be adjusted? Can it be adjusted? What's the cost of adjusting it? Who's going to pay for it? You know, all that would be part of it. But yeah, there would be a comparison to other counties and other systems as well.
Okay.
So are you prepared to make a motion, Peter?
Yeah, I am. My motion would be that I would recommend, or I would suggest we approve participating in this what are they calling it, study? In this transit study for the rural section of the study if there is a majority being participating, including Llano County.
What is the budget impact, Peter?
To us, none. Oh, I'm sorry, $2,500. Well, it would be $2,500 if it's 5 participating. It would be less than that if not. And I think if Cindy Lent's on the phone, is she?
Yeah, she's there. She's looking for something.
And I've mentioned that to her.
Hello, Cindy.
So it's, did you say it was 12,500?
12,500 divided by 8 if all participate.
So I get 12,500 divided by 500.
What? 12,500 divided by 8 counties.
By 8 would be 1562.50.
If they all participate. Now, some may not participate, so my motion is to say we need to have 5 participate for us to participate. That includes us. So that will be 12,500. I'll be, sorry, $2,500
Not to exceed 2,500.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say.
at this point. Yeah.
Where's that going to come from?
Either unallocated or professional services.
Yeah.
I'm assuming that's going to be this fiscal year, Peter?
Yes, I think the contract that I'd sent out does look at 30 days payment once decided. So anyway, I made the motion.
Okay,
do
was
so.
Mike saying something, Judge? He's muted. I can't hear him.
Me. On the agenda, I counted 9 counties, not 8.
No, there are 9 counties, but Bell County is an urban district operation. So they are going to go with the cities, the other 5 cities, and they are already committed to pay their part of the $20,000.
Okay.
I'll second Peter's motion. Not to exceed $2,500 and the majority of the counties participate.
Yeah.
I
So
think
we
this,
got a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Being none, all in favor, say aye.
aye.
Any opposed? Ayes have it, motion carries.
Thank you. I think that's a good decision.
Agenda item 9, discussion action to approve separate broadband internet service with Northland Business for public access internet at the Llano Library. Commissioner Jones.
Yeah, this is from the IT committee. The IT committee is made up of the judge, myself, Cindy Lent, Clay, BizProtech, and Gilbert Bennett. So we met, we kind of resurrected that committee and met again over the last number of months. And the intent on that, there's a bunch of action steps that have already been taken, but the intent is to try to make sure that our security, our cyber security in Llano County is up to par and protected. One of the areas that we have identified that needs some attention is this one, which is that the Llano Library has a public access internet. And so that is also kind of linked within the county system. So we need to make sure from a security point of view that that is separated, that the public access at the library is separated from the county access system. And the quote we have here in doing so is from Northland Business to establish at $113.39 a month to separate that out and have that as a separate internet for Llano Library. So
What that does is creates one more firewall between the county's government IT system and the public.
No, and we've discussed this, I think, before that we need to make sure that's separated. Once again, I need to know, Cindy, where that money would come from.
This year would come out of the utilities for the library. I think that there's enough funds in there, and then we'd adjust it. I think we've already adjusted building maintenance utilities for next year going forward. So I think we've got it covered.
Any more questions? Well, I'll motion that we approve the separate business internet for the Llano Library through Northland.
I'll second.
Motion by Commissioner Moss, or second by Commissioner Moss. Any further discussion? Being none, all in favor, say aye.
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 Any
Thank you.
opposed? Motion carries. Agenda item 10, discussion action, preliminary plan for bids to increase budget for document storage building. This comes from, 2018, 2019. We've been trying to get the document storage building built. One of the challenges that we had was every time we would get going on this, we would start hitting delays. What we were trying to do was get our building maintenance to build this building. And between COVID and dealing with FEMA and other things, it's kind of, I would say falling behind schedule. One of the challenges that we have is if they go get bids for the equipment, or not for the equipment, but for the supplies, the material, the bids are only good for 30 days. Well, that's one of the challenges that we're facing right now is trying to get it set up so that they could do this in a long timeline versus a quick timeline. One of the things that we looked at when we started all this was how much space do we need? The original plans called for a 1-story building, but it had a lot of dead space up in what would be the second floor if they were to expand the ceiling out just a little bit. So building maintenance has come in and they've come up with a floor plan, if you will, and provided that. And Billy or Clay, I see y'all are on here. Do y'all want to elaborate on that just a little bit?
Yes, I think we need to probably go out for bids on maybe just doing everything but the electrical and the AC work. It'll give us a better timeline on getting it done. You know, with our staff, we're being pulled off with IT stuff and helping out with janitorial stuff. So I think, you know, all in all, we're going to be shorthanded in doing the building process. We can do the AC and the electrical and just go out for bids maybe on the rest of it. I think that would be beneficial for everybody.
You think that because you are shorthanded? Is that what you said?
Yeah, we're shorthanded, and we'll be probably 6 months and get the building built if we do it.
If not longer.
If not longer. If a contractor comes in, you know, they can get it done probably 6 weeks.
Do you have any idea what that would cost per square foot?
No, not offhand. We need to go out for bids and probably have that done.
It's going to cost a lot. You know, I don't know. I don't know what, but it's not going to be cheap.
It's not going to be cheap, but at this point, I mean, we don't have to accept the bids, but we need to get something going down the road to where we can look and see at least what we've already got budgeted and how we can add to it if we can.
And another thing, this drawing, which doesn't show much on this thing I got here, but it's a 2-story.
Yes, sir.
Yes.
How are you going to get up and down it? By stairs?
There'll be a set of stairs, and we're wanting to put in a dumbwaiter to get the files up and down.
Yes.
That seems to me like it'd just be better to build it. I haven't looked at any of these plans, first time ever, except for maybe when it may have first been on the agenda, and I don't remember anything about that. But I mean, 2 stories. I'm thinking about the tax office going up and down it, even in an elevator, and then those stairs. That's not pleasant, especially if you're carrying something up there. You know, right. So it seems to me like it would be out here if you're going to build it out here at the sheriff's department. Is that correct?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. We were trying not to increase the footprint was the only thing.
Yeah, but I mean, think about it. I'm looking at all our pictures on this thing. There's not very many young people on this thing going up and down stairs. That's not, I would think it would be better off if it was single story.
I'm concerned about the weight too, because that third story is a concern with the weight up there, isn't it, Clay?
You're talking about at the tax office?
Yes.
I don't think it's a concern structural wise or anything, but it does put a hinder on getting files in and out of there. Yes.
Sure does.
That's why we were thinking about putting a dumbwaiter in this one. That way, all you would have is personnel going upstairs.
What are you talking about?
A dumbwaiter. So it would be basically like an elevator just for the files, Commissioner. You would put the files in there, and we'd have a winch, electric winch up at the top or at the bottom, whichever one, and you would let the winch do the work for the files to be carried up to the second floor.
See that once again, that's just something to go wrong. If you have I know that I'm here, I'm talking about this and y'all been working on it. Apologize for that, but it still seems to me like a single story would be better. That way anybody could go in and out of it that needed to carry files in and out with a dolly or by hand or whatever.
We'd be looking at about a 8,000 square foot building then.
That'll increase the price with the concrete and
quite a bit.
Yes. So.
Yeah, I know it's going to increase it, but we're not going to build another one. You know, I think we should build one that works for everyone for the future.
But that was one of the challenges was not just meeting the needs of what we need, what each elected official and department needs now for storage space, but what they need for the future. I guess one of the options is we could put it out in the RFP and say, this is how many square feet we need, and see what we get in return in an RFP. Cindy, what are your thoughts?
Well, I think the commissioners are going to decide what they want first before we do an RFP. We're going to have some kind of guidelines to put out in an RFP. The Commissioners Court's going to have to decide what kind of building do we want, how many square feet do we want, and then we can put together an RFP.
Yeah, we would approve the specs just like if we were buying a vehicle.
Right.
Approve how we want it built and before we did that.
So do we need to start from scratch and try to get you a new layout with single story, no trusses?
I think maybe the judge want to think about appointing someone from the court to work with y'all to see what we need.
And that'd be fine. We've already gone around pretty much the each department and see what they needed as storage. But as far as future stuff, we need to probably revisit that.
The 8,000 square foot is that would be with room to grow or not?
That would be with some room to grow, but the problem is like the county clerk's office and a couple others, they keep files forever. So eventually we're going to run out of room, period, no matter what we do. But yes, that is with room to grow.
Mm-hmm.
Is that, Clay, is that moving what's out at the 71 annex and the tax office and moving it all to the one building?
We think it's everything consolidated out there.
Yeah,
Okay.
we have pretty much everything at 71 already. There isn't very much at the tax office anymore.
Okay.
Billy, have you had an architect look at this at all?
No.
Who?
We did it in-house and just do it ourselves, yes.
You're looking at a 2-story building that isn't architecturally planned? You're going to do it yourself?
That's what the game plan was, yes.
Okay, well.
Mr. Jones?
Yeah.
Mr. Jones, people do that over here all the time.
The challenge is you've got basically 6, well, not even 6 guys. You've got a limited amount of people that are going to be working on this, and then they're going to get pulled off just like they did with COVID to go do other things. That's my concern, is we're trying to get all of the material and supplies, and you can't get a bid to say we want to go buy this because the bid's only good for 30 days and you don't know that they're going to be able to use that equipment or supplies in 30 days.
Well, I've built buildings before and houses for people and stuff. I didn't realize that it was going to be 8,000 square foot, whether it's up or out. There's no way that y'all can do that with what and continue your job.
Sure, exactly.
I didn't realize, I didn't know what we were talking about to start with, but there's no way that, I mean, well, I guess there is a way, just things would pile up more and more and more.
Yeah.
But 8,000 square foot, that's big.
It is.
So I don't think that, I think that we do need to look at RFQs or just bids, not necessarily RFQ, just bids. And, but I do think it needs to be single story.
We need to get Richard with Road and Bridge involved in the discussion as well then, because they've done the pad for the 4,000 square feet currently. We would have to expand that and possibly even move it a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
So you already have a pad in place.
It's not completely finished, but we do have a pad here that they've started to build. It hasn't been finished out because we came to a standstill on everything.
Is it cemented?
No, it's just granite gravel pad.
Yeah, there's no forms, no concrete, nothing. It's just been built up to ensure that the water runoff doesn't intrude into the building.
Okay. Well, it seems you need to come up with an approved plan of some kind that makes sense first before you.
So what I'm hearing is the 8,000 plan that was submitted is not acceptable. So we need to work. Is there anyone on the court that wants to work with building maintenance to come up with a plan?
I don't have to, but I would, since I'm one opposing it. I will help if I need to. Not that that'll be a plus for y'all. I don't know that, but I will help if I need to.
I think that's an exceptional idea.
Good idea.
We really appreciate it, J. Don. They and building maintenance defense, these guys have worked through it several times, and each time they say, okay, this is where we're at, this is what we're going to do. We start hitting roadblocks, and it's been a assortment of things of them getting pulled off for different duties, including but not limited to custodial duties. I mean, it's just where we're at with our staff.
And you know what, just from experience, I helped with the JLK Center out there and the arena and that building. And I mean, it never fails when you plan on doing something and it's going to be ready in 6 months. By the time it's built, it's full.
Mhm.
So in my mind, if we're going to build something that will help and that will, go through the future a little ways and at least with help store all the county clerks or the whatever offices need to store that stuff for however long, it's going to need to be a little bit bigger if it's going to, if 8,000 square foot right now will hold everything, it's probably going to need a little bit bigger. And then this isn't going to be cheap. I hope everyone's aware of that. A building of that size is going to cost a lot of money.
Yeah, 50 or more probably.
Do what?
We did have some allocated in the tax notes already, is what the addition would be.
Yeah.
We did. We had 90, didn't we, Cindy?
Yes, 90,000. Mhm.
Which isn't going to touch it.
Mm-mm.
No.
No.
Just so everyone's aware of that. $90,000 is not going to touch an 8,000 square foot building.
Well, it'll touch it.
It's just the shell.
It'll help.
We can do the dirt work.
Yeah. So what I'm understanding, we'll get with Jerry Don, maybe come up with some sort of plan going forward.
Yeah. So would we need to table this or remove it?
I think that we could come up with something pretty quick, but I would remove it because, yeah.
It's going to be a whole new layout.
Yeah.
Billy, let me ask you, have you looked at like the steel buildings that they put up?
Yeah, there's already 2 of them out here that the sheriff office uses. And, we still have so many files that from other departments that we have to use, and putting more storage units out here. I don't think that's.
No, I'm talking about a steel building, a 10,000 square foot steel building.
That's what this bid is for, Commissioner Jones.
Oh, it is?
Yes.
Okay.
It'd be steel building with spray foam insulation interior, and then instead of doing the interior walls with sheetrock, we were going to do them with plywood because you're going to be moving files, hand truck, and everything, and it's harder to put a hole in plywood.
How much of that building were you going to put under air and heat?
It would all be
Oh.
centrally
Yes.
central heat in there.
And no sprinkler to protect paper records or anything?
We were going to do a package unit outside the building, so there would be no water in the building whatsoever.
Right.
Well, the other side, you might think about going to 10,000 square feet and then not putting anything in the building other than records for any other reason. You know how empty space seems to attract furniture and filing cabinets and everything else.
Right.
Just a thought. But Jerry Don can handle that. He's the construction man now. My suggestion.
Okay, so I'll make a motion to remove agenda item 10.
I'll second.
I'll second. Second.
Motion and a second. Any further discussion? Being none, all in favor, say aye.
Uh,
Motion carries. Jerry Don, you got 11.
Yes, sir. Agenda item number 11 is discussion action to approve a financial. I'm sorry. To approve the Hill Country Community Actions Association resolution. I know that's pretty simple, but y'all see this information here. I believe the judge is on this board or this committee, but wasn't real sure about all this, and I talked what it was, and I talked to Cindy about it and Jennifer quite a bit last week. We do this, we've done this in the past. They apply for this grant, and then, but we contributed, last year was $1,986. It would be the same this year. They already collected in January, I believe. Cindy, didn't you say? So this would, like it says in here, would be for the 2021 grant. So we do this and budget for it and pay for it a year ahead of time and it's kind of their matching, county's paying the matching part of this. Is that correct, Judge? You
Yes,
think?
sir.
Yes, we fund it every year.
I did look in our budget and I can't find it. So I don't believe it's in there budgeted for this next year.
Let me see.
Would it be under local assistance, Cindy?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it should be, and it may be there. I just missed it.
Didn't
but-
see it? Okay.
Which our budget's not approved, of course, so we could put it in there. But if we approve this, which I think we should, we have to put this in our budget. And they would submit this, and it says in the letter, they would submit this by November. That's why we're doing it now. So they have to submit it by November.
Yeah, I don't.
Hold on. Hold on. We're in Commissioner Portman.
Commissioners,
I'm having internet issues here. Wait a minute.
okay.
Looked in not departmental, and I couldn't find it anywhere.
This is Hill Country Community Action Association.
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, it's under senior citizens, under local assistance. And we budget
Okay.
800 every year.
Okay. I was looking for that long thing, Hill Country Community Action.
Well, we
All
don't
right, so it's,
because we have another group that's the Hill Country Child Advocacy Center that.
Right.
mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, I did see that, but
Yeah.
anyhow, so it is budgeted then.
It is budgeted.
Yes. So y'all see the resolution? Is there any questions?
No. You want to make a motion?
If I can get a motion,
I will, but I gotta get back to my agenda.
and just so everybody knows, I'm gonna abstain because I sit on their board.
Okay.
Okay, okay, I'll make a motion. If you're ready, Judge, I'll make a motion we approve the resolution with the Hill Country Community Action Association to pay this matching of $1,986.
I'll second.
Got a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Being none, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? I abstain. Motion carries. Agenda item 12, discussion action to approve financial support of $4,500 for the 2021 fiscal year for the Vet Ride project. Got an attachment in there. It's a letter from Judge Oakley. They run the lion's share of the program, and they have an estimated cost that it's going to cost $93,000 this year. They're asking for us to pay $4,500 to support the veterans needing transportation in Llano County.
Can I comment on that, Judge?
Yes, sir.
Well, first of all, that's only 5% of the total budget. And the Texas Veteran Commission kicks in along with others. And last year we had 179 unduplicated rides. And that covered individual veterans, widows, spouses of veterans. And that vet ride in the whole 3 counties, Burnett, Lampasso, and Llano, that was the 179 rides. We had 55 of those rides were Llano rides, but we had 2 vets, both of whom many of you know. One of those vets had 34 round trip rides, and the other vet had 42 round trip rides. These are serious, serious issues for these veterans. And the total thing for the Llano residents, there was 284 drives, 2,622 gallons of gas, 1,600 driver hours, 46,000 miles, and so forth. So I don't think we can not find a better deal for the 4,000 plus veterans, their widows and spouses that we have here in this county. We should approve it. 5% of a total budget with that kind of service we get is a no-brainer.
Cindy, we have that allocated, don't we?
We have 4,000 in the proposed.
Okay, so that'd just be adding 500 to it? Okay.
Actually, let me make a suggestion. Cindy, I think I told this to you before, but that VetraSpec service that I subscribed to last year didn't turn out to be what it was all cracked up to be. And that was $500 a year that we're not going to redo this year. So you could take that and add it to that 4,000 to make 4,500, the VetraSpec.
So do I have a motion?
I'll make a motion that we approve the $4,500.
I'll second.
Second by Commissioner Roski. Any further discussion? Being none, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Ayes have it, motion carries. Agenda item 13, discussion action, call for bids for Llano County Buildings COVID-19 routine and emergency cleaning as per CDC guidelines. Talked with Cindy just a little bit where, we've got the CARE Act funds, and one of the things that CDC recommends is a more thorough cleaning than what we're having done right now. One of the concerns also is if someone comes up positive for COVID-19 in a particular building, We probably need to get that building professionally decontaminated and fogged. This would, as near as I can understand, this would not have an impact on the Llano County budget. We would be using the CARES Acts to pay this. But I think it's in our best interest to have someone that is professionally trained on how to perform these services versus asking our janitorial staff, custodial staff, and building maintenance team to come in and do this work.
And I know there are companies that do this. Companies we've actually even used, they started having these kind of services once all this started. Probably a good idea. The CARES Act, is that where, what is that?
Right now, that's what we got for the COVID funds. I
Okay.
think we got 155,000, which is a portion of what Llano County has allocated. But that's what Cindy just kind of put into a bank account, if you will, or a bucket.
Didn't that require a budget, Judge?
Yeah. Cindy, you want to touch on that?
Well, once we get some proposals and have an idea what it's going to cost, then we have to have a discussion on that entire budget. So we'll know how to split it up. How much is going to be going to Dr. Franklin, how much is going to be for cleaning, and how much we're going to need to reimburse ourselves for any salaries and time that was dedicated to COVID.
Okay. Yeah, that's what I was saying. I thought, which we'd already approved, what we're going to pay Dr. Franklin for right now anyways.
Right.
Correct?
Right.
So-
But we're using current funds to pay it now. We just haven't reimbursed ourselves from the CARES Act yet.
Okay.
The budget amendment for that.
We and probably 240 other counties are feeling our way through this, trying to navigate this so that it doesn't come back and bite us.
You mean you don't have it all figured out?
Almost.
Working on it, right, Judge?
Yeah. What I do have figured out, I guarantee it'll be changed tomorrow.
Yeah. I think this is a good idea to get someone to clean everything, but more especially get, like you said, Judge, if someone in one of the offices gets it, to take care of it then, for sure.
Yeah, I want us to have somebody that we have on contract. But I mean, the jail is a perfect example to where
Yeah.
we can immediately react on something like that.
Absolutely.
So can I get a motion on that one?
Yeah, I'll make a motion. Well, let me hold on just a minute. Is there anything that we need to do before this, or can we just make that motion that's the agenda item?
We can make the motion, but no contract or anything will be approved until it comes back to.
Yeah, it would have to come back.
Yeah, like this is just saying it. Okay, let's make sure we're not getting the cart before the horse. I'll make a motion that we call for bids for Llano County buildings, COVID-19 routine and emergency cleaning as per Center of Disease Control guidelines. Does that work, Judge?
Yes, sir.
I'll second.
Got a motion, a second. Any further discussion? Being none, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Got executive session. There's no need to go into executive session. So that will conclude Commissioners Court. Next Commissioners Court is
27.
27. We're doing just quick public announcement. We're doing updates on COVID on the website now. We're also doing it on the Emergency Operations Center Facebook page. We're doing them on Mondays and Fridays. The numbers are going up. We expect them to go up. There's still some discrepancies between what we report and what DSHS reports. And we're working through that as best we can. It's got some ongoing challenges in communication internally with DSHS and with not only us, but with the other counties. So, but just so everybody knows, we're working through that. We hope soon that the DSHS website numbers will be reflecting what we know our numbers are. But it's a work in progress. Commissioner Jones, you got anything else?
No, that's, thank you for the updates.
Commissioner Roski?
Nope, thanks for all your work.
Commissioner Sandoval,
No, sir. Thank you.
Commissioner Moss.
No, sir, I'm good. Thank you.
Thanks, everybody. Have a good day.
Thank you.
Yeah, you too.
Okay.